reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. You're listening to Defiance Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Greetings and welcome back, Arc Hunters. We are recording episode 42 and discussing episode 8 of Defiance, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. With me this week, I've got an old fan, an old favorite host, Chris. Chris, welcome back.
Apparently, I'm really old now. Former would be better, thank you.
Former.
I'm old.
Now,
old.
We'll stick with old. I mean, everybody's being resurrected. Everybody's being resurrected this week, and that includes you.
I am much older than you, so I understand.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. But anyway. Last week we had hellbugs take over the station. And, they basically tied me up, threw me in the back closet, and ran the show. I thought it was my turn to just have a show and give them to a break. So, Chris, how long has it been?
Oh, it's been a while. It has been a while. When did we make the big switch? Wasn't it around January-ish? And then I guessed it once. Yeah,
it's been well before season 2. We did.
Oh yes, I haven't been on this season during the recording of this season. So it's been a while, but I've been enjoying the podcast. I've been enjoying the tweets and enjoying everything of Defiance in 2.
Have you been able to participate in the live tweeting?
I have not, because I'm an hour later, right? Because
we're doing East Coast and West Coast live tweeting.
Right, but Canada is an hour later than the West Coast one.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not realize that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can do like some of our other viewers from the West Coast, sitting there trolling Twitter during the East Coast. Just ignore everything that's being said, but participate anyways. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joy. So let's go ahead and discuss this week's episode, Slouching Towards Bethlehem. And I always want to say sloshing towards Bethlehem. But the title of this episode is pretty interesting. Chris, did you know what Slouching Towards Bethlehem was?
You know what? My wife and I mocked the episode when we saw the title because it was not like we had no idea where this came from. Not even a little bit. So, yeah, we were not kind.
Well, apparently it's originated from a poem by an Irish poet, W.B. Yeats, called The Second Coming. And I just want to read it to all of you listening because it is actually relevant to this episode and possibly next week. So, it's... starts off with, turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand, surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are those words out, when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
Now that last little bit, that ties it in for me. And thank you for what earlier.
The whole thing, though, is describing the fact that everything's topsy-turvy, you know? The best lack all conviction while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Don't you hear Nolan and Amanda and the TARS? Don't you just picture them when you hear that?
I can see that, yeah. I didn't automatically picture it, but yeah, I can get that.
So it's a pretty powerful poem based on the concept of the second coming. And it's But tied to this episode, it really does feel like this is a setup of what's to come, and what's to come may be as relevant as a second coming to the show.
Well, yeah, it's kind of getting a little bit creepy. It's nice to see them getting on track here finally.
Well, honestly, you say getting back on track, and I'm thinking, this whole episode was kind of a distraction to what's supposed to be the track.
No, I wasn't a big fan of the last few storylines, the last few episodes, but this was all, if you look at it in the big picture sense, a refocusing back on sort of the main stuff that's been driving story.
Right.
Rather than almost one-off bits.
Let's talk about the actual episode. Right. You want to go ahead and do a recap for us?
I'd love to. So, Slouching Towards Bethlehem begins with the arrest of Vesuvius Gorath for collusion with the Votanus Collective, whom Viceroy Mercado has on good authority has planted a bomb somewhere in New York City due to explode in 12 hours. Nolan is tasked with interrogating Vesuvius to find that bomb. Meanwhile, Amanda gets a threatening call on her hailer asking for the release of Vesuvius or Kenya will die. But wait, Kenya's dead, isn't she? Now, Amanda has to find a way to get Vesuvius to the VC, but Gorath is busy getting his guts chewed out by the Shrill. After a few visits to these torture sessions, trying to gauge the difficulty in an escape plan, Amanda turns to Nolan. Nolan tries a technical plan with the Hailers to attempt triangulation, which seems way over Nolan's head to begin with, but it fails and Nolan has no other option for Amanda. Now, it fails for a very specific reason, but we'll talk about that later. This leaves Amanda to bust out Gorath on her own after knocking Nolan out of course. Success is within her grasp, but once Vesuvius steps out into the night air, he is gunned down by Daytak in shadow. Vesuvius gives Nolan the location of the dirty nuke in New York City, but it's little comfort to Amanda since this now spells Kenya's death again. No! You could hear her Darth Vader.
So already, this is just about half of what's going on in the episode.
Right.
This is amazing. Yeah. This is a lot of action. It feels like a movie that you'd see at a theater where everything's on a time crunch and you got to do this and everything goes wrong, like Speed.
Yeah,
that's
totally
what this episode feels like. Speed. Can't get off the damn bus.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kenya isn't just sitting waiting for Amanda to rescue. A few defiant snark remarks aren't winning her any favors with her captor or bringing her any closer to escape, so she decides to take her metal food tray and hammer down her chain to bust free. The heat must be getting to poor Kenya. Because, come on, metal food tray, and she's trying to bash through the chain. Like, that looked so dumb.
Right?
Oh, anyways, unless it is a, adamantium food tray sharpened to a Wolverine claw sharpness. However, a weak bolt is Kenya's ticket to freedom. Now free, she seeks to run from her captor. But hold on. No. She doesn't seek to run from her captor. She tries to start the car. That doesn't work. She gets 20 feet away and then does the hailer. Doesn't keep running and getting into the forest and getting what? No, she has to stop and wait.
Was I the only one shouting at the screen?
Oh my God, run, you stupid woman, run! Oh, that was very plot point important.
Yeah.
She doesn't get away. Her captor catches her again. Now for the important plot of this episode. Although I think that Kenya, hello, she's back. Woo!
Yeah, but it's not the important plot.
Well, for you, maybe. And for the important plot of the episode, I will say once again that Ben did write this. So, Arista and her freaky alien tentacles. Ooh, sounds like some Japanese adult movie. While everyone is trying to save New York City and Kenya, Arista has visions leading her to a remote location outside to find. Mohawk fishmonger Casti Fionu is already camped out, and soon Sukar joins them. I love Sukar.
Although he needs his top hat back.
I know, I said that when we were watching. Slowly, Arissa is being reunited with her quote-unquote victim, who all seem to be led to her by their own personal deity, all while her very own Irizu whispering into her ear vague ambitions are crossed. So, yeah. Wow, and I don't know if they're being drawn to her, or maybe she was being drawn to the same location as well.
Well, I think they were all going to the same location, but it's obvious that everything stems from her. She has the two original...
Oh, sorry, wait, hold on, chat room is correcting us. Rizanyara, did I say that right?
Rizanyara.
Yeah. They're tendrils, not tentacles, thank you. Tendrils.
Nah, they're very invasive.
They're tendrils, not tentacles.
Okay.
There are no sticky pods or fleshy. They're tendrils. Thank you.
she's leading this group. It doesn't matter if they're all being led to the same place. She was given the same visions because obviously the Kaziri has to lead or pilot the host body. So they're still coming to her, but it's all in one location.
Yeah.
This is a pretty full episode. What did you have any particular thoughts about this episode?
Kendra! I was so high. Didn't I tell you she was coming back? You didn't believe me, but I told you she was coming back.
Yeah, it's no. I still cannot believe she's back. And
Damn.
honestly, she's been gone for at least 9 months. Where the heck has she been?
Yeah, and she looks so different without her makeup.
And without her hair down?
Right, exactly. I really like this episode. Coming back to all that sort of, I'll talk about it in a bit, but it just felt back on track. The last few episodes, I've really felt I didn't really love the whole drug storyline. You know, the whole stuff about the egos, but it was just really convoluted. It's like they lost their path and now they found it again. With only 13, is it 13 this season as well?
Yes.
With only 13 episodes, it needs to be such a laser focus on that overarching story. And I don't feel that they did that as well with this season as they did with last.
But if you want to laser focus on a particular plot point, then you don't have character development. You don't have time on other characters.
You can do all that around that central plot, right? I think the whole thing, and people may disagree, like, I don't mind that they had the drug storyline with Amanda. I just think they dealt with it really dumb. I don't think that the whole thing was written very well. And I don't like the fact that as far as we can see from the last little bit here, there's no repercussions of her stopping cold turkey, right? She's off adrenals 2 weeks now, it says, and we haven't seen any repercussions or anything like that. She's just back. And it would, other than that one ego episode, which wasn't the drugs, it was the ego, there weren't really any repercussions for her while she was on the drugs, right?
Okay, I agree with that second point, but that first point, we don't actually really know that she's off. We're just taking her word for it, that she's 2 weeks clean. Her supply is freaking Pottinger. Well, okay, now he's gone.
Right.
You might be right.
I did like the way they did that, and it felt like every time they go back to the good stuff, it's like, oh, okay, I'm home. Right? And that stuff was good, but there was a few elements. Anyways, so This felt like a coming home to me of this is Defiance. This is what I love about the show.
I agree with you that the whole drug storyline was kind of silly, not well written, but it was vital to the whole thing, in the sense that we're learning things about Pottinger, we're learning things about this faulty ego, which comes into play for the whole Defiance universe, not just the show, but the game as well. And yeah, the lead-in was bad. The front face of this story was bad. But the meaty guts were there. The meaning was there, and we got the information we needed. And delivery may not have been perfect, but we got what we needed.
Yeah, I never realized that a mist of ego could recreate an ego inside other people.
Well, this new ego that Von Bach has is kind of different, and we don't quite know how yet. There's a lot of changes coming to that, and, speaking of people coming back from the dead, I hadn't made the connection yet, but Von Bach was practically the first one to, quote-unquote, die, and who was brought back. We saw at the very end of the first season of the game, he got up and he walked away, but his eyes were glowing.
Right.
So that was the first instance, and they didn't touch on that story until the beginning of Season 2. And not even the beginning of Season 2, the second episode of Season 2, where people were starting to get resurrected after Orisa was killing them.
Yes.
It just shows how deep this story is going and how far back it was planned that I cannot wait to find out what the hell is going on.
Yeah. I still love the show. I still really like pretty much everything about it, but it got to the point, for example, with my wife, with Selenia, she was almost at the point where she's like, she said at one point, you just watch the rest of them without me. I'm just going to do other stuff, because that divergent off from what the core of Defiance was, which was those characters and those relationships, into the really, there's really nothing to like about Pottinger, yet they keep putting him in these positions where you're supposed to feel sympathy for him. And I don't, because there really isn't anything to like about him. Like, nothing.
You're right, there's not, but not every bad guy can be bad 100% of the time.
But he is so far, right? He's
No.
They're trying to put us in those like they're putting him in the situations where it feels like they want us to feel sympathy for him with the whole ego stuff and with the stories that he tells. But I'm like, yeah, whatever, he can die. I'm not connecting with him at all. Well, I don't know if it's the writing or the portrayal or anything like that. That's a character I'm not connecting with.
I don't think that connecting with him is important. It's what his purpose is that's more important, and what he's there for. We don't know what he's there for. We think he has an obsession with Amanda, but it's turning out to be something even deeper than that.
Yeah.
So he has something to do with whatever happened to Amanda in New York, and he's got ties in New York, and a lot of things seem to be leading towards that.
Oh, the other episode, one episode back, it was great to see Connor again in it.
That was 2 episodes back.
2 episodes ago? Okay.
Yeah. Connor Lang, it's great to see him. And, that's the point where I was telling you. He's really delving into Pottinger's psyche. Whatever happened between the two of them and whatever Pottinger has in terms of an obsession towards Lang, I have to know what's going on. I don't like Pottinger, but I need to know this backstory.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued with that. I'm falling into that storyline. But you can't tell me that throughout this season, the Tar family, the household, they're not bringing it to the table. They absolutely are.
I like that stuff.
Okay, so how can you want to skip a couple episodes if you're going to miss out on the...
I don't want to skip a couple of episodes. I want them to focus on the important... Like, not in any way saying that they need to skip episodes or skip that sort of stuff. It's some elements that have not been connecting with me. The Tars are. The whole cast-a-thin roleplay element is... I'm still flip-flopping about that, but I think that's more of a personal thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's fine.
I don't know where they're leading with that, honestly.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that Christy doesn't feel like a real castie, and that this is her outlet towards it, that she wants to be.
Yeah.
That's the only point I can see. But what about Mercado?
I keep feeling like he's channeling what's his name from Boondock Saints. Oh gosh, he was the Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movie.
Oh.
Oh gosh, why can't I remember that? You know him,
I know
Dafoe,
who you're talking
William
about.
Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe.
It's like he's channeling William Dafoe's character and the way he moves like that. It's very interesting to see him go. This episode though was fantastic. Shall we get into the favorite scenes?
Sure.
I just have to say my favorite part of the entire show was Hello Puddin'.
That's everybody's favorite.
I want that to be my ringtone. Hello Puddin'. And, put down here, the show thrives on the witty banter. Nolan and Arissa, I mean, they've got great writers, right? The dialogue just snaps a lot of the time. And anyone makes it happen, right? Like, she needs to, they need to up her pay grade, because any scene with Doc Ewell is automatically better.
Well, I was going to say it's less the witty banter and more the snark.
Well, it's not just the snark, it's the intelligent snark, and it's not just the banter as well. Her scenes with the illusion, and again, I know I'm going back, but she's just so fantastic. The scenes with the ego illusion were heart-wrenching, right? And I got that from her, whereas Pottinger's stuff didn't have that same connection for me. Interesting to see that they did make that reference back to Amanda's drug history and saying, I'll get you on a anti-withdrawal drugs and stuff like that. Really great story in this one. Loved seeing Sukar again, and I think for me it's those characters that I love and seeing how things are going, and that's why coming back. They gave that in spades in this episode.
Okay, I can agree with that. One of the scenes that I wanted to mention was the very, very first scene between Nolan and Arissa, where Nolan was attempting to have a conversation with the Kaziri. And I did not feel it was one of their better moments.
But they called themselves on it.
They did.
Like, and do you feel better?
That was the only redeeming moment of that scene.
I think it was very self-aware. But that's totally Nolan. He would totally do that, right? Can she hear me? This Kaziri, this Irzu person inside you, can she hear me? Oh, she's always in. Like, Nolan would do that. As dumb as it is, Nolan would totally do that.
Of course he would. The only thing is I felt as awkward as Arissa did watching that scene.
Yeah, totally. It's like watching one of those old movies where, it's a high school movie and there's that really awkward scene where somebody's getting really embarrassed. Like 13 going on 30. Did you ever see that movie?
A long time ago.
It's like the whole thing is I can't watch because it's too embarrassing and I can't stand to have characters be embarrassed on screen. I have to change the channel. And it was getting close to that point there with Nolan.
Yeah, it was too awkward. But you know what? This episode was ripe with awkwardness, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that Casty super snout. I just realized that Jamie Murray, was always sniffing things in season 1, and it never dawned on me why. I just thought it was a weird feature these aliens had. But now season 2 completely explains the fact that they can sniff things out that nobody else could sniff. I was like, wow, super heightened sense, please.
And that kind of explains their homes as well, right? Always pristine, always spotless, clean, very bland, because they do have such heightened senses. They can probably see subtleties and smell subtleties that humans can't.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the bigger reasons why they have these Lyros.
Yeah.
It was pretty hilarious that she was sniffing out these different scents on Nolan and saying that Berlin wears it well.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Tommy.
I don't. After how he's acted in the last little while, he kind of...
Okay, yes, he was acting like a little teenager, throwing tantrums because, Nolan comes and takes his badge and takes his gun. But he cannot get a break. Ever since that, he just can't get a break. It's a constant 1-2 punch directly into his ego. First, Stama does that to him. And then he goes outside and faces Berlin about it, and she goes, are you having sex with him? Oh, no. What was it?
Are you seeing him?
Are you seeing him? And she goes, God, no, we're just having lots of sex. And she smirks at him. That was the second punch. There's a constant 1-2 punch to him. Always.
But he absolutely deserved that. After the way he treated her at the end of the previous episode, sticking around for Arissa, and I know what he knows, and I know why he did it, and stuff like that, but from her perspective, he deserves every little bit that he got there. Because he's sticking around for Arissa, fine. I'm just going to go around, and I'm just not going to mess with you a little bit. I'm going to sleep with the guy that you really dislike right now, that was your mentor and kind of broke that bond of trust sort of thing by running away like that.
I do not disagree with you. I think he deserves everything that's coming to him. But damn, are they laying it thick on him?
Look at how Berlin had given so much of herself they were going to go to Texas. She's looking at places. You can tell she didn't really want to, but she was doing it for him and because it was best for him.
And then he turns around and says, I can't do.
Right. And why? Because I'm not seeing her, but there's totally like this girl that I like, and I totally kind of want to stick around.
Yeah, typical high school drama.
I would have been cheering if she turned around and kicked him in the nuts. So, because he deserved that.
That was a kick in the nuts.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
One other thing that I thought fascinating in this show, or this episode, was Raiga, the bodyguard, the Sensoth.
Yeah.
Okay, he's been more noticeable this season than he was last. As the episodes go on, he's getting more and more vocal.
Yeah, like we won't put up with a reconciliation.
Before that, when Daytak was running the business and he told Skeever to refer to him by his true title as Vizu, I mean, that's where everything started. He's absolutely...
Not when Daytak.
I'm sorry, I said Daytak, I meant Alak. He's very loyal to this family, but he's also very loyal to the men, and he is not loyal to a fault. He's looking out for everybody's best interest, not just his own.
Right.
And it's pretty awesome. Okay, first off, poor thing had to stand outside and bodyguard the shack where Stama and Daytak were too busy having rage sex. Yep. And I felt so bad for him. But then when she's walking down the street and he's bodyguarding her, he said the guys wouldn't have it. They don't want a reconciliation between the two.
Yeah.
And he's looking at the interest of the men, even though he's loyal to Stama. And he is. He stood up for Stama when Daytak came knocking at the door. Rhaega's becoming a new favorite of mine, just like Churchill was. And it's these secondary characters that are starting to become more noticeable.
Churchill, and another reason why I hate Pottinger.
Yeah.
It's like messing with a child.
Exactly. It was shameful. It was terrible. It was disloyal. It was heart-wrenching. I agree. But again, these secondary characters are becoming so loved. I mean, we all love Birdie.
Yep. Although Birdie's not getting I hope Birdie gets more screen time here.
I believe Birdie will be in the next episode. Speculations and unanswered questions. Man, this episode sure left us with a few, didn't they?
Yeah.
Let's see. Who was Kenya's captor? Why was it important to cloak their identity? I mean, they had a mask, they had head-to-toe clothing, like not even the wrists and ankles were showing.
They got away without showing anything, so obviously it's somebody we know.
Yeah, and they used a voice modulator?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was their voice or that was the modulator. So, they're hiding absolutely everything. And yes, more than one person ran from that scene. So who else was there?
I'm going to totally and utterly mess with you here. It's humans trying to mess with the Votanus Collective and trying to make it seem like the Votanus Collective has a stronger presence in Defiance than it really does.
I'll take it one step further, and it's Miners of Defiance, who are trying to make the E-Rep situation look like it's the Votanus Collective attacking them and not the citizens of Defiance.
Yep.
It's a diversion.
Very well.
Those are two of the bigger questions, but we also have the Kaziri and all its infected hosts. What are they up to? What is this arc rise? And the biggest question, how the hell is Kenya alive? And what will Sama do now that she is?
Yeah. Okay, so the Kaziri, like, is it some sort of artificial intelligence from the ship?
Something like what happened to Sukar, is what it sounds like.
Right.
But I mean, even in these flashbacks, we see that the Kaziri was part of the ship. It was part of the ship's computer, it looked like.
Yeah.
So it could be an artificial intelligence and a safety standby mechanism for its original programming. I don't know. This is very sci-fi and totally awesome. I don't care. I just want to know at the very end. Don't leave me in the dark anymore. Do you have any predictions for next week or for the rest of the season?
Gosh, this is so hard now because they've been so... like. Obviously, Kenya's going to come back. I think it's going to take her a while, but I do think that it's going to be a sister team running the Need Want and turning into just Kenya as Amanda takes over the mayor role again. I don't think we're ever going to see Detak Tar as head of the Tar family and never going to be the capo again, for lack of a better term.
The Vizu.
Thank you. And I think we're going to have an action-packed last few episodes here.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 4 left, right?
No, I think we have 5.
13, this is 8.
Let me double check that real quick. But I know the last 4 episodes they're showing back to back, so it better not be just 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes left. Painted from Memory is the next one, and then they're going to show Bottom of the World and Doll Parts together, and All Things Must Pass and I Almost Prayed.
There you go. So we got 3 weeks left?
We got 3 weeks left.
Whoa, are they taking a break?
Nope, no break this year. It's back to back to back to back.
Whoa!
I
Awesome.
know.
Okay, my prediction. Are you ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Superhero Tar baby.
Oh, what?
Not Detak Tar. You know, like they're gonna have a superhero baby.
But you just said a superhero Tar baby.
Yeah, baby.
Okay.
Superhero baby.
Baby Tar sounds better. Tar baby sounds kind of
Tar baby,
wrong.
baby Tar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think a superhero? I mean, we've had hybrids before.
You know they're gonna do something because it's a baby and that's the way this show goes, and I think, you know, maybe part of the Kaziri ends up in the baby and it can control.
Well, that's pretty wild prediction there.
Yeah.
But you are known for those.
Yeah. I think that the all that mass of people, they're gonna find the ship that Arissa and her little lover boy there were in those flashbacks, and it's under Defiance.
You think that lover boy is going to come back?
Mm,
Because he's not infected. He doesn't have his half of the Kaziri anymore.
I don't know. Her tongue went pretty far down its throat.
That's true.
Oh. Sorry.
Well, you have a point. Although I think that was genuinely her tongue and not her tendrils.
You know what? We're just proving we can still get in trouble even without Michelle here. That's all.
And she wanted to be here so bad. Anyway, Stama. She's a phenomenal manipulator and a diabolical schemer. She really, really is. But she's really not so good at improv. And the proof is in the undead. Kenya. She totally freaked out, season 1, and tried to get rid of Kenya. And while it was an ingenious way to do it, she's not dead. And I think that same thing is going to happen.
I told you she drugged her through on a line, coach.
I think that same thing. I'm going to take your side on this. I think the same thing is going to happen this season, but not. I don't know if it's going to be Kenya. I don't know if it's going to be what she's going to do. She's going to be left in a tight spot with the return of Kenya, and she's going to do something rash and impulsive that, while may look to work now, it's just going to lead to another Kenya incident. And I also wouldn't put it past Kevin Murphy to laugh at all of us and just kill Kenya off again.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen, though? Kenya's going to come back, and she's going to be infected with a virus called plot device, and she won't remember what happened. It's a killer virus, that one.
I'm going to say right now, Stama's going to ask her, what do you remember? Did you lose your memory? And Kenya's going to play along with it. But she's not going to forget a damn thing.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Who was the MVP of this episode for you?
Hello, Puddin'. Docu.
But she had such a little role this episode.
Don't care. That one moment made show for me. Like, everything with her is just like, okay, I would watch. We need a Docu spinoff. Like, seriously. Like when Joni met Yule.
We have a name for people like you, and unfortunately me. But they're called golf ball head fetishists. Kevin Murphy has tweeted so. Thus it must be true.
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
She's got great scenes, and she can steal a scene every time she's on. Okay?
No can about it, does.
There was a lot of good characters in this episode. Like I said, Raiga was awesome to me. And I know that everybody listening live or at home probably wants me to give this to Kenya. Because, hey, Kenya's back. Kenya's awesome, and we all missed her. Case in point, Chris. I had to have you on this episode because Kenya's back. But I think, while Mia did a great job with the role, the character was not up to her usual level-headedness. Hence the heat must be getting to her. Because I don't know where her wits were, but they weren't usually what they are. I have to give it to Amanda.
Yeah.
She finally acted on her own desires and not just vocalized them or playing bureaucrat or sitting back and drinking her problems away. She got up and did something. This is the second time she's done this. It seems she only does this once a year.
Yeah. Although I have to say, her little moment after Vesuvius was shot, wow, that was... I don't know what it was about it, but I didn't buy into it.
Well, a lot led up to it. I mean, first off, she was able to knock Nolan cold. Then she was able to steal an E-Rep uniform. Then she pretended to drop her voice an octave to try to convince people that she's an E-Rep. And then she stood in between Nolan and Vesuvius. I mean, she was really putting herself in harm's way the rest of that episode. She was impulsive and driven, and that's why I have to give it to her this time.
I get it.
Off the set.
Now, as you all know, every episode we've got a loud, tumultuous stream of tweets. It's Live Tweet Central, and we like to pick and choose a few of them. And the first one I want to mention goes out to Anna Hopkins. Anna Banana Hop says, "Am I allowed to ship myself with Miss Jamie Murray?"
Nah.
Yes, you absolutely are. Jen Rusi, one of our favorite tweeters, goes, "Daytech finishing things too early again."
Yeah. It happens to all guys.
I don't know what you're talking about, Chris. Kevin Murphy has trolled the Twitter feeds every episode, and I love him for it. He goes, "Is kissing your older self a form of masturbation?" I would have to say yes.
A little bit.
Death to Dickens. Every once in a while, she has something pretty clever that tops everything else she says. That's already awesome. So she goes, "Look at Tommy trying to move on up. You didn't have to deepen your voice, though. We get it. You're a man now." And then Julie Brents tweeted, "Erissa drives into a tree and everybody thinks Amanda has a problem." Jeez. Well, yeah, Amanda's drug-addled floozy and Erissa's possessed. So, yeah.
It was the ego. Come on.
It was the ego, yeah. Uh-huh. Our very own Lonely Nerdette tweeted something that was very interesting to me. She goes, "Is it wrong that I don't really feel emotional about Amanda right now because I'm worrying about Erissa?" No, it is not wrong. It is absolutely right.
Yep.
Erissa was the focal point of this episode, not Kenya and Amanda. And Amanda went a little crazy this episode.
A little bit.
And one last thing, only because, I really cannot wait. One of my favorite authors, James S.A. Corey, tweeted, "So when my show is on Sci-Fi, I get to hang out with Miss Jamie Murray too, right?" By the way, he's written the Expanse novels, and Sci-Fi is now doing an Expanse TV series. If you guys want some really good sci-fi to read up on the Expanse.
That's really cool. So we need to get a show on Sci-Fi, as you're saying. Then.
No, where we are definitely not a Will Wheaton.
Yeah. I've met Will Wheaton, kind of. I was in the same room as Will Wheaton.
Are we doing 7 degrees of Will Wheaton?
I'm actually 1.
1 degree of Will Wheaton?
Yeah. But no, 1 is meeting him, right? So I'm 2. I'm connected to a guy who knows him on a friend basis.
Nice.
Like hangs out.
But no, I'm definitely not getting a TV show on Sci-Fi. Thank you.
We can try.
This is fun.
This is fun. This is better than Sci-Fi. Who needs Sci-Fi? Money. Who needs that shit? All right. So reviews across the web. Just wanted to talk real quick about TV Equals. Mark Trammell, who wrote, mentioned that the episode's title is a reference to W.B. Yeats's classic poem, The Second Coming. Was inspired by the apocalyptic scenario referred to in the poem, in which a rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. In other words, an Antichrist figure coming to wreak havoc wherever it goes, and it would seem, in this case, to be headed to Defiance.
So who's the Antichrist figure?
Although Arissa may take that role when she is controlled, I think it is the Kaziri itself.
Okay, so who's the Christ figure?
I think that will be Arissa.
So she's waging a war within herself?
Correct.
Nice.
Thank
nice.
You.
Good analyst.
Thank you. Alas, Kenya's problems are only just beginning, what with Stama having tried to kill her and all. Chances are her homecoming won't be the happiest one, and you can't pretty much bet the farm that Stama is going to try again, or get someone to do it for her. However, as we know, the possessed can't be killed per se, maybe. So Stama might be in for a rude awakening. I'm sorry, is Kenya possessed?
That's the question. We don't know what happened to her.
But where is he getting that from? Like, he's implying here that it's a given she's possessed.
No, it's not a given. Okay. It's an assumption.
Okay.
And plus, people who are infected by Arissa can also go out and infect other people, so it's a big, big tree.
But we don't know they can't die. We just know they don't die from Arissa's. We know Arissa can't die. We don't know any of that.
We also know that Kaziri has the power to bring people back from the dead, a.k.a. Nolan.
That's true.
Or a la Nolan.
5-2. That's a whole different...
Sukar's was nanobots. If you want to read up the full article, head over to TV Equals. There's a link in the show notes. It is a good article. These were the 2 choice quotes that we wanted to bring out. But coming up next week on Defiance is Painted from Memory. There is a sneak peek on the Defiance website currently. There's not one on YouTube yet, so those of you who are region locked, I do apologize. It will come out, and I will tweet that link. As well as the episode trailer. It's not out yet. If you caught it at the end of the episode, great. If you didn't, well, I hope you DVR'd it. Just a quick observation. Pulled off of IMDb, Justin Rain is back, and he's bringing Linda Hamilton with him this episode. So, We're going to get to see Pilar, and we're going to get to see Quentin. It's going to be pretty interesting. And then, that's one heck of a pilgrimage. The sneak peek showed quite an intense scene. And if that's just a sneak peek, I cannot wait to see what the episode's going to bring. But there are a ton of infected. Also, Tommy gets a swing in on Nolan for calling him a kid, and it's about time he stood up for himself, because all he's been doing is pouting. And then Stamos is swimming the waters trying to see what people know, and how far Kenya will keep her secret while the town tries to discover what exactly happened with Kenya. Should prove quite intriguing. It's going to be quite a juggling act next week.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it.
News from the Bay Area.
This is the portion of the show where we get to talk about the game. But first, I want to give a word from our lovable rascal of a CEO. Bam and bam.
Bam.
Rated M for mature.
For those who have fought and struggled on this new frontier, I have discovered a way for you to survive, to thrive, and escape the fear of death. With new territory comes new evils, and I hold the key to our defense against them. Join Von Bach Industries, where the only chance you've got.
I don't know what you are, but I'm glad you're scared of bullets.
Oh? Try me.
I came up through these streets, now who's running the show? Me. Ha ha he, yeah. We popping the bill now. Yeah. We stacking the bills now.
Start up new adventures in the Silicon Valley.
How awesome is that?
That looks pretty darn cool.
So, Von Bach is back in business, and apparently he's not afraid of bullets. This is going to be really, really fun. So the Silicon Valley land expansion has been released, and a lot of what you saw in that trailer is the land expansion and the new enemies. It was released August 5th. All roads to Silicon Valley have now completely opened. Our hunters are now tasked to discover what Karl von Bach and his mysterious cult, Pilgrims of the Guiding Light, are up to with this so-called new ego.
Dun-dun.
Yeah, this world expansion is available now for all players on PC, 360, and PlayStation 3. We have some news about the PlayStation 3 and for the 360, but rest assured the expansion is available on all three platforms. And Chris, let's just go ahead and alternate these new features because there's quite a bit.
So first of all, we've got World Expansion, Silicon Valley, Karl von Bach, and the Pilgrims of the Guiding Light eagerly await your arrival. Almost too eagerly. The valley is crawling with grid, and not all is as it seems. Unravel its mysteries from eerie edge of Pacifica to cultist temples guarding key areas of interest on either side of the buckled San Andreas Fault.
There are some new missions regarding the Guiding Light. Dive into 5 new missions exploring the perils of Silicon Valley and the cult that calls it home. Are the Pilgrims of the Guiding Light simply a New Earth oddity, or do they hold sinister purpose?
New dynamics events, invasions. The grid are using converted 99ers to erect evangel devices across the zone. These contracts, if left unchecked, will turn its key areas into hives of grid activity. Can you stop the grid before they conquer the valley?
Man, I got to play one of those. Talk about fun. I mean, it's just as fun as playing the grid Arc Falls. And it gets crazy hectic and absolutely insane, but it is absolutely fun. New synergies and outfits. The corporate espionage lockbox is now available. It's themed after the works of William Gibson. These lockboxes contain vanity outfits and headgear as well as weapons and shields loaded with 3 new synergies. For those of you who do not know William Gibson, if you look up a book called Neuromancer, you will be enlightened.
Firewall turns Arc Hunters into living tanks by boosting their defenses. Wetwork bolsters damage output for the users and their allies, and the Wave changes encourages players to swap between melee and ranged attacks, boosting damage to one when you use the other. That's kind of...
Yeah, these are the 3 new synergies, and I think they are going to be quite fun to use, if not a little game-changing when you have them in your weapons. A new equipment modifier. Encryption. Now, this is something I'm not too pleased with, but I can understand why they put it in. Certain advanced weapons and shields will now drop with the encrypted trait, which confers a 3% bonus to damage or capacity. Additionally, when the salvage matrix is used to increase the rarity level of a shield or weapon, it will become encrypted. This can only happen once. The salvage matrix will not be able to increase the rarity level of items that are already encrypted. Therefore, any weapon that is encrypted is capped. Any weapon that is not, when you upgrade it, it will be capped. No more upgrades.
Awesome. Ego ratings cap has been increased to 5,900, which is possible to achieve without completing all pursuits. Fear not, though, when the max rating is increased again, any additional points you've earned will automatically be added to your rating. That's awesome.
Yes. Some fixes were also included in the patch, most notably, and these are all in the patch notes. Entering vehicles you own from the passenger side now places you behind the driver's seat for your convenience. Thank God. Happy Pal Farms is now a fast travel location. Awesome. You can no longer damage yourself with explosives with a clever combination of perks. Now, I wish I knew what those perks were so that I can inform you. Unfortunately, I still have to discover it for myself.
Yeah.
You can now teleport to clan members. Look for the go-to clan member in the social menu. Man, these are all features that have been worked on for a while that we've been waiting for. Faction representatives are now taking bribes. You can now purchase reputation boxes on the Defiance store. Now, I've took a peek at these. When you purchase one of these bribes, it increases your reputation by 100 points. So I can understand if you completed all your daily and weeklies and you don't want to wait a week to get an extra 100 to get your next tier and go buy a weapon. That makes sense. Otherwise, it's kind of silly. Corporate espionage lockbox is now available in the lockbox merchant. The Defiant Few and Tard Tracks icons are now unique. No more looking for stars on your minimap. They all have their own individual marker.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then they fixed the skinning issue with a challenger that was causing graphical corruption, which means, yes, they moved the bungee cords away. So if you guys are interested in the rest of the patch notes, there's quite a bit of information. The full patch notes can be found on the forums, and I've included a link in the show notes.
That's cool. Now, there's pretty cool news, too, coming out from the PlayStation 3 universe. Tryon is excited to announce that Defiance Free-to-Play is coming to PlayStation August 12th. That's pretty cool.
We've been waiting for this conversion for a while. Now, veteran Arc Hunters on PS3 will be granted the same 1,000 Arc Forge 30 Days of Paradise patron status. They will retain their increased number of loadouts, character slots, inventory slots, and key code storage capacity that us PC veteran Arc Hunters were granted during the free-to-play conversion. So that's good. Everybody's on equal footing. New recruits will be able to download from the PlayStation Network for free once the store updates. Now, the store is going to update Tuesday. The servers will be down Tuesday between 12 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and this is an estimation of time. A more exact time will be tweeted from the Defiance Game Twitter account, and that's for North America. The European deployment will happen Wednesday around the same time. And finally, the team is working closely with Microsoft to launch their Defiance Free-to-Play on 360, and they'll post an announcement about that transition when they finalize the date. Boy, Microsoft is taking a while.
And I wonder why that is. I mean, Microsoft is always a little bit slower with everything, but a couple of quick things here that we want to mention. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors here real quick. Doghouse Systems. Use the coupon code MMO Reporter at doghousesystems.com to double your RAM. And our good friends over at Audible. If you like audiobooks, go to audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter, and you can get a month subscription for free by going to that URL. And you know what? You like the audiobook you get with that first month subscription, you can keep it forever, even if you don't decide to continue after that first subscription. So that's pretty cool. So go check them out. Doghouse Systems at doghousesystems.com and Audible.
So some last-minute announcements for those of you who have missed it. This week's Arc Hunter code is ORANGE. Make sure to enter it at defiance.com/ego to get this week's reward of a free Seleptor Enterprises Edition modified Dodge Durango. And for those of you who are curious, yes, it's orange, and yes, it's the same one you saw in the first episode. So remember to enter that code in before Saturday, August 16th, because that's when it expires.
That's awesome. I also want to mention a couple things. First of all, our PAX meetup, which is an annual thing. We have had a great time over the past few years meeting up with people as we go to PAX. So if you are in Seattle or going to PAX on August 28th, the Thursday before PAX, we will be meeting at the Elephant and Castle at 7 p.m. and we'll have prizes from all sorts of games. Haven't heard back from Tryon yet, but hoping to get some stuff from Tryon as well. But we'll have stuff from Elder Scrolls Online, Lord of the Rings Online, WildStar, Guild Wars 2, and a whole bunch more. So if you plan on attending, go to MMOreporter.com/PAX. You find all the details there to check everything out. And please, we're asking everyone who's going to attend to RSVP me at chris@MMOreporter.com. So check that out there. Also wanted to mention our Patreon campaign, which if you haven't heard about it, it's at patreon.com/MMOreporter. We're just trying to find a different way that we can do a little bit more and have a little bit more consistency with the network. And hey, kind of as the head honcho here, I'd really like to be able to pay everyone. That would be kind of cool. But we're trying to do a Patreon campaign, which is kind of like a Kickstarter, but in a more consistent manner. So some of you may remember, if you followed history or followed the arts, that artists would in the past have patrons. And these would be, lords or princes or kings or counts or whoever who would pay the artist to create their art. That's what the Patreon campaign is. You basically become our patron, and we've got a whole bunch of different pledges. And I've just reworked all the different pledges, the rewards that you get. So, for example, you can go $1, $5, $10, $25, $50 and pledge those different amounts. And I've actually reworked the $25 one so that now you get random prize from our swag bag and on a show. So if you want to be a guest spot on the podcast, that is a great way to both support the network and get on your favorite MMO Reporter Network show. So go check it out, patreon.com/MMO Reporter, and help us do what we do better.
Awesome. Of course, first and foremost, we do this for the fans. We'd like some help with the network, if at all possible. But we have one last announcement, and that's join Defiance Reporter's PC clan, Igni Farouk. No registration is required. Just look for me, Corso Vanlock, in-game. And keep your eyes peeled for once Xbox 360 goes free to play. We'll also have a clan there as well. And so, Chris, how can the many, many lovely people out there contact us?
Oh, that's easy. They can send us an email at defiance@MMOreporter.com. They can check us out at DefianceReporter.com. They can send us a voicemail at 616-666-6778, or they can check out the widget on the right-hand side of the page and send us a voicemail right from their computer. They can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network, or you can check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/Defiance Podcast. Check out Michelle's Twitter, twitter.com/Women of Defiance. You can check out my email at twitter.com/Almazar. And Ben, where can they find your Twitter account?
Mine's real easy. It's twitter.com/Nebsinsane. NEBSINSANE. Chris, it was a blast having you back on here. It's been a long time. And again, I'm sorry Michelle couldn't make it. She wanted to. But next time we're going to have to pencil you in.
Yeah, I didn't really want to record with you. I just wanted to record with Michelle. So I'm
we all know that.
A little bit left out here. Thanks, Ben, for having me on, and thanks, chat room, for being so awesome. I love your chat room.
Yeah, our chat room we have some great fans and listeners. So thank you guys for joining us. And for those of you who listen to us at home, thanks for downloading us week after week. We hope that you continue to do so. But most importantly, we hope that we see you live tweeting on the show and playing the game.